This video is just meant to steer you in the right direction. None of the POBs in the description, other than like maybe the hierophant, are set up very good for Gauntlet. I'll be releasing additional videos leading up to Gauntlet with each individual build where I've actually made a POB set up properly for Gauntlet and proper notes to survive. The ones in this description are just preliminary ones I could find and scrounge up to just include in the video to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. And if you want to look around for other people's stuff in the meantime leading up to Gauntlet. So starting with Ice Nova Archmage Hyro. This is just the best build to play if you want to survive to 90. It's the build I'm going to start. Dude, it's just good at everything. It's got good defense, good DPS, good clear, mind over matter, and archmage is just a great combo for getting defense on casters right now. It's basically your only option. And along with the endurance charge buff this league, Hyro is just a juicer class. This build's a good choice for also farming gear for other ascendancies and swapping to bossing on less competitive classes. I know that it's not, the video is about getting level 90, but if you go for an underplayed class such as Wish or Ascendant, you might be surprised how quote-unquote easy it can be to play as top 5. It's obviously still not easy, but I don't think it's as hard as most people think if you actually have the time. With the campaign being far more deadly than maps, this build will also shine as it has good ranged leveling. Ranged is huge, and it's just overall good leveling experience. You get tanky while leveling, mind over matter while leveling is very good, and you also have good damage. You're not really sacrificing anything while leveling, you're not sacrificing anything in maps. Just in the super endgame, it's probably not the best bosser, that goes to Trickster, but for this video, Ice Nova Archmage, definitely just the best video, just the best option. It's what I'm starting. Archmage Detonate Dead Necro for Witch. Archmage's DD is actually decent, despite many people thinking DD is dead now with the changes. Alas, it is not. This build gets pretty tanky along with also getting block, which is a nice get out of jail free card occasionally if you get hit by something you're not supposed to. Early on, I think this build's going to be kind of sus for surviving, but once you get it all set up, should be smooth. Progression is still very smooth in true DD fashion. While not as smooth as the old traditional pre-nerf DD, it honestly feels pretty close with the recent run I just did. I just did a run in SSF HC just to see what it feels like, and I never felt like I had a lack of damage. I never really felt vulnerable or super squishy, but it's not perfect, but it's definitely okay. And my setup was scuffed too. With the proper gear, it's going to be a very solid build. Earthshatter Jugg. If you want to play melee, this is the build you're going to want to play. With no +2 proj modifier in maps, this gauntlet, Jugg is just a very good option for getting level 90. In previous gauntlets, where you get +2 proj on everything from the gauntlet modifiers, Jugg's not great actually, because you get no evasion. And you basically just tank all those hits. Well, this league, there's no +2 proj except for acts 1 through 5. So, Earthshatter Jugg, good option. You get a ton of defense early with getting additional max res, bunch of endurance charges, which are buffed this league, as I already said. Fortify, armor, some other stuff. You can also get spell suppression and just be an unkillable beast. The downside is that while it is very tanky, the DPS suffers, and you're also melee without crazy clear, so if you're not playing carefully, you could die very easily, despite how tanky it is. If you're just getting an entire pack with golem mods, and maybe you rolled the map with damage mods to get the completion, which you really shouldn't do, but let's say you did it, you're gonna die. However, if you do play slowly and carefully, you should have a very low chance of dying once you reach maps, as the modifiers for maps are very easy this league. The main problem is going to be past campaign, or getting past campaign rather. The mods look pretty brutal for campaign, so I don't super recommend this. It's doable, but I think campaign will just be too painful on it. but it's an option. Alright, for duelist, we got gladiator, sunder. You want to leave your character's fate up to RNG, then gladiator is your class. You get very high block, up to 90%, and this is a solid option for being close to immortal maps. However, if you happen to not block a big hit, you're dead. The DPS will also not be crazy, as you're probably not going to get right slot this coil to make bleed shine. But leveling should be good enough with Sunder. To clarify, yes, it is bleed Sunder. It's probably the best leveling for it, up to 90. I can't imagine Retaliate's going to feel great in Gauntlet, having to stand there and get hit. As far as I know, I didn't play at this league, but Lacerate has traditionally always felt bad and slow with bad gear. And then I think this is just worse than Jugg, because once you get the maps, the mods are not that bad. But on Gladiator, you're still not super tanky past block. You're decently tanky, but you get a big hit, you're dead. And then if you're Jugg, you don't have to worry about the +2 Prodigious Gauntlet. Jugg's just all around, you're going to be safer. Power, Siphon, Trickster. Definitely don't recommend this build for the unskilled. You will have a ton of damage for leveling. The highest out of any of these options. Power Siphon gets crit capped at like at Act 3 or something silly. You really do a lot of damage. But you will not be tanky at all. Basically relying on evasion, ghost shrouds, and some energy shield. Kind of make up for this with being able to off-screen some stuff, but definitely not a safe choice. Once you get to maps, it should be easy enough to survive on this build, but it is still risky because it is not tanky. It's survivable for sure in maps, but really not tanky at all. Trickster, however, is the best chance to survive in bosses, so if you have any plans to attempt that, Trickster's where you're going to want to go. You might want to start another class and then go Trickster after, farming for the gear. That's what I would consider doing, because Trickster is just insane for bossing. Everything about it. Huge bossing, especially in Gauntlet. Alright, now getting into some funky stuff. Archmage Ice Nova Ascendant. Archmage on Ascendant actually does not look that bad. The main thing I'm worried about is getting the mana regen. Other than that, the Ascendant nodes are actually pretty solid and you have a few choices. I don't know if the PoB I've included in the description for this is good at all. I'll have to take a look later and make one myself, as I'm considering going this if it looks good enough. It would take the Hierophant node and probably Trickster or Pathfinder. I want to say probably Trickster. And then Ranger. I really don't know what you'd play for Ranger. Probably like Poison, Concoction of Bouncing, Pathfinder, or Blade Blast Pathfinder. But Pathfinder is just, it's rough now with the nerfs. I really can't think of any Ranger builds that sound even remotely good for Gauntlet. Don't play Ranger. I'm not even going to include any POBs for this. I genuinely have no idea what people are going to play on this. And no, Toxic Rain is not an option. It's awful.